So as you can imagine,
Dispatch from 338.
I hear about things.
Southbound on Power. I have a white and color signal.
So run me through what happened.
Procedure department. 6176.
We got a 911 call that there was an officer who shot somebody at Autos. At which point, Ensley, I guess, was on the phone with Clarkson. I thought she was on the radio. And at which point, he told units to not respond to the 911 of somebody bleeding out after they got shot by a cop. I said, okay, I'm not going to just let that be. I'm not going to let that fly, especially when Clarkson's the one that's leaving the area. After, from prior knowledge, right, that I thought he was still trespassed. I responded, and I didn't say anything on the radio. I didn't say I was 76. I didn't say anything. I just went there. I got on scene. I found blood across the floor of Autos with multiple PD Glock casings. Or it was some kind of PD weapon casing. But it was, there was casings on the floor. At which point, I was like, okay, we went inside, me and Inslee did, and we were like, hey, is anybody shot in here? They're like, no, we're not shot, blah, blah, blah. From what we could tell, I believe James Arsenal and them were like trying to cover up Conan for shooting. For whatever reason, they're trying to cover him up. So at which point I was a little bit like uneasy on it. At which point, Marty Banks returned to the scene. Marty Banks claimed to be shot by Conan. At which point, I heard over the radio, who is 305 and 420? I responded with Spartan and Inslee. He said, why the fuck did you not listen to my direct order of not going on that scene? I said, somebody was shot by a police officer. I'm not going to just leave that. At which point, he told me multiple times to get off the scene, and I said, I'm going to finish my job here, and I will go off the scene, Clarkson. I was collecting evidence, during which time he continued to like, basically bombard me on the radio of going off the scene, and threatening me with strike points, and threatening me with this, that, the other. At which point, I kept telling him, okay, like I was basically telling him to talk to my higher up officers, right? Which was Underwood and Rhodes that were on duty. At which point, if Underwood's, Rhodes, or Bundy, who's in a bench trial, would have said, hey, Spartan, go off the scene,
it's not how that works.
Listen to them. The only reason I didn't listen to Clarkson was because he was directly involved in what happened.
Why didn't you speak to Rhodes?
Rhodes was in the middle of a bench trial too. He just went to the bench trial during that time. He was just asked to go to the bench trial.
Right.
At which time?
And then am I correct in saying you told him he's not your commanding officer?
I told him that to have another officer, another higher up, tell me to go off the scene.
Okay, he states, and I quote, that you said to him that you're not going to listen to him because he's not your commanding officer.
I do not remember saying that he wasn't my commanding officer. I said that to talk to my higher ups and have one of them basically do it. I told him to talk to my higher ups. Like my wording verbatim was talk to my higher ups.
Did you tell him you don't give a shit who he is?
I didn't say I didn't give a shit who he was.
The quote that I got was, you come around once a month and I don't give a shit who you are.
Nope. Okay, so this is exactly the timeline of that. He kept threatening me on the radio with strike points, suspension, everything like under the sun. I then said, okay, Clarkson, meet me at Autos and talk to me, like 25 with me, so we're not doing this over the radio. He continued to bombard me on the radio. I continued to say, meet me here, 25 with me here. Don't continue to go over the radio. So I was trying to keep it off the radio after the fact, right? And don't get me wrong, like I you know this, Casterman. I'm a little bit of a hothead sometimes. There's times where I, like, in my brain, it's hard for me just to be like, okay, like, somebody's straight disrespecting me, and I'm just going to take it. Like, I'm just not somebody who usually does. It usually, like, kicks in my brain to be like, okay, say something back, right? Like, and at which point, there was a little bit of back and forth at the beginning with this, me saying, talk to my higher-ups. So then at which point, that's why I was like, okay, calm down, just tell them to 25 with you, do it there, right? 25 and talk about it. At which point, he arrived on the scene and continued to threaten me with more strike points, told me that I was going to be sent off for 72 hours, and then told me he was going to place me into cuffs. At which point, I continued to do my job, which was collecting the casings, while he went off and did his own thing. which he was just disrespecting me the whole entire time. At which point, I had kind of been done with it at that point of him just straight up just bombarding me, basically pulling his rank on me. So at which point I said, oh, don't worry. If I was a ranger, I wouldn't be surprised if I was a lieutenant. At which point I completely get that was insubordinate, right? At which point the reason I
fucking bad comments to
the
make.
reason I believe that is because who is the only other person that contested him for that rank? Ziggy.
It's irrelevant.
Right, but what I'm saying
No,
is that
stop.
that's
It's
the reason
irrelevant.
that I said it. Okay, but at which point
No,
I
stop.
understand that I was insubordinate.
You were just recently promoted to corporal, which is a leadership rank. Your actions directly reflect shift 1 and into shift 2. Reflects upon me. It reflects upon Svensson. Do you really think it's a good idea to say to the lieutenant running that division that you only have lieutenant because you're the only ranger? And that you would have lieutenant if you're a ranger? Do you really think that's a great fucking idea, Spartan? Yes, Clarkson might have been doing dumb shit. It's Clarkson. He probably was doing dumb shit. But you respect the rank, not the person. If you don't respect the person, fine. But you must respect the rank. And that's the problem. You don't. You respect me, you respect other members of command. Sure, not everyone's gonna like everyone, but rank comes first.
I get that, but when somebody does something...
No bats. He might have disrespected you, but what you done was clear insubordination.
I'm not arguing the insubordination. I've already said that.
What are you gonna say?
So what you're telling me is in the future, when a lieutenant or anybody higher than me commits a crime or does something completely wrong, if it was basically anybody else under the fucking sun, that they would be met with a lot more fucking retaliation from anybody, that I just need to take it to the chin and basically be like, okay, you're my lieutenant, so I'm gonna let you do what you want. I'm gonna do whatever you say, even though it might be against what I stand for.
No one's
what we
defending
do as a
Konam.
police department, which is serve the
I'm not.
citizens of the state of San Andreas, which I vowed to as a police officer or a deputy when I got hired from cadet phase to a full officer or full deputy, that I need to go against that because he's my lieutenant. When that person could have bled out and died, and no casings, no evidence would have been collected. And when he gets on that scene and threatens to cuff me, and threatens me to go on suspension, and threatens me with all these things because he's a lieutenant, that's okay. That I should be okay with that. That I should be okay with that disrespect when I fucking put my heart and soul in this fucking job.
Right, but you have to understand to respect the rank. If you're being disrespected, this happens time and time again in this police department. People don't understand when is the time to deal with something like that. If he is disrespecting you on the spot, do you really think it's a great idea to butt head to him right then and there? And to not listen to him, for him to continue to get angry because you're not listening to him, when really you should be listening to him? You're just going to make things worse. If he was truly disrespecting you, you should have gone to Rhodes. You should have gone to somebody higher than him. You should have gone to a watch commander. You should have gone to a captain. You should have gone to somebody above him and said, this is the events that transpired. I don't like how he was speaking to me. I don't like the threats that he was making. I want it dealt with. But to butt heads discredits everything that you've done. It discredits the promotion that you just got. And it's not the first instance of insubordination that you've had. And quite frankly, Spartan, I am disappointed. There's other ways to go around things. That is not how you do it. I already told you. I agree. He probably was doing dumb shit. It's Spartan. He's held. It's Conan. He's held a fucking rocket launcher in the meeting before. But there's other ways to go around that. Standing then and there with somebody who is higher rank than you, not just a rank or he's a lieutenant. So to argue then and there on scene is dumb, and it's flat out disrespect. I get you might not like him, but you must respect the rank. Because of that, Spartan, I'm going to be issuing you 30 strike points for insubordination, which is a 24-hour suspension starting now. I want you to take this time to learn and better yourself to become a better person. This is, I believe, the third instance of something similar happening.
There's only been one other time.
Regardless, there should be none. You should be still lucky that you have those insignias on your shoulders, considering you were just granted them. So take this time, better yourself. I'm not saying what Spartan did was okay, but what you did was far worse. Now, if I were you in that situation, since you keep bringing it up, I would have phoned Rhodes or emailed somebody higher to get the authority to investigate that scene. If it is a case of corruption or something like that, then that needs to be investigated. I'm not disagreeing with you. But the way you went about it is not the way to do it, especially over radio. You're dismissed.